And greetings, happy Friday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show here on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. I'm Steve Deace on location again today in Columbia, South Carolina for TPUSA Faith's College Tour at the University of South Carolina, which we had last night. Todd Erzen and Aaron McIntyre are here with us back there in our home studio in Des Moines. Going to reintroduce everybody to our good friend Tracy Beanz here in the next few minutes for the Deace Group. And we are brought to you by our friends over at BIRCH Gold. Right now, you can buy silver for free. That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from BIRCH Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they're going to send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up over 40% just since the beginning of this year. BIRCH Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they'll send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you're a current or a former military, BIRCH Gold's got a special offer just for you. They're waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments and on any amount. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, tens of thousands of happy customers, many of you guys in this audience, I encourage you to diversify your savings into gold. Just text Steve to get started. Text Steve to the number 989898 to get a free info kit and claim your eligibility for free silver qualifying purchase before the end of the month. Again, text my name, Steve, to 989898. Do it today. Text Steve to 989898. Coming up next hour, it'll be Feedback Friday. But first, it is time for the Deace Group. Your weekly look at the week that was begins by saying hello yet again to Tracy Beanz. It's been a minute since Tracy's been on our show, and she has relocated. She has a new endeavor we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. But Tracy, it is great to have you back. How you been?
I've been great. It's so good to be here. I missed you guys a lot, actually. So I'm glad I'm here today.
You bet. And you've moved now to the free state of Florida. What's the air like down there other than very humid?
It's so beautiful here. Everybody's you know what it's like? It's like Long Island where I grew up, right? But everyone's happy. So like I can get back into my quick New York wit. My accent is coming back. It's like a beautiful renaissance down here. I love it.
I was just down there last week for our vacation. Amy and I went to Universal Studios Orlando last week for several days, so got a chance to breathe some of that free air in Florida myself. But the air is about to get a lot more wretched. Let's begin with issue 1. Bleep, Lord Nefarious says.
You know, the other thing was I actually had some pretty old-fashioned values, even if I had, progressive or newfangled ideas.
Yeah.
If I talked about trans issues.
I thought they came in and said we are not receiving equal electoral opportunity because our votes are being diluted.
Which is the same way of saying we deserve a second.
No, it's not, because again, just trust me on this.
Some people have actually said I was the most qualified candidate ever to run for president. I like the some people say.
Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible. I guess I don't understand why that's not what's happening here. The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled.
One of the problems with the American political system is, although we have political parties, we don't have a parliamentary system. So basically the president, in my case, Democrat, I leave office, and there's no obvious person who's now the shadow prime minister.
The people on my special counsel team were like that. The idea that politics played a role in who worked on that case or who got chosen is ludicrous.
And so my message to everybody, learn how to behave in our city, but especially learn how to behave in our downtown.
As a conservative and as a business owner in the construction industry and as a realist, I can say we have to do something about labor, and that needs to be a smarter plan than just rounding up every single person and deporting them just like that.
Right.
So, and I'm going to get pushed back on that, but I'm just living in reality.
I don't trust at all that the Trump administration is going to hold any of these people responsible. We will. We're going to call for accountability, and indeed, the tables will turn someday. These people should recognize that maybe they're not going to get prosecuted today, although we're looking at doing that, but they may get prosecuted after the Trump administration.
Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points?
All right, Tracy, you know the drill. It's been a while since you've been here, but custom and tradition remains the same. Ladies first, and the guest gets the first crack at the opening question. What that you just watched made you want to throw up in your mouth, at least just a little bit?
I'm just bewildered. The thing that really got me the most, believe it or not, was Ketanji Brown Jackson trying to compare Americans with disability to minority voters. That takes the cake for me. My goodness, the leaps and jumps. I don't know if she's just completely uneducated or I don't even, that was bad. That was what I was most focused on. Although it was all jaw-dropping. You saw me.
On yesterday's show, I pointed out that Ketanji actually sounds like somebody else that starts with the letter K, and claiming that black people are inherently disabled. The KKK said that black people were inherently disabled, and in many respects, Tracy, if we just took some of those comments and said, "Hey, Jim Bob Cooter Douglas Smith, head of the Choctaw, West Virginia KKK, said this in 1926," you'd 100% believe it. I mean, it's essentially the exact same worldview, just different conclusions. One side says black people are disabled so we can practice racism. Her argument is black people are disabled so we can practice racialism. But essentially, it's the premise of the argument seems to be almost exactly the same to me.
She's a Supreme Court justice and she's black. Like, the fact that she's sitting there, even it completely destroys her own art. She is sitting there.
Right.
So, yeah, Steve, I don't know. Gosh.
Yes. Yeah. Black people are so disabled that she's on the Supreme Court. We now celebrate when there's like a black female sideline reporter during NBA games. I was watching an NFL game the other night from 1972, and the two color commentators for NBC Sports, both black, Irv Cross and Gail Sayers, before you or I were born. They were putting black commentators on TV. So apparently nothing's changed and nothing's gotten any better, Trace, in any of our lifetimes. Todd, what about you? What made you want to most throw up in your mouth, at least just a little bit?
Well, I know I'm told that Barack Obama is the alpha and the omega of all that the left aspires to be. But, help me understand this really smart take. He has a problem with the American system of government because there's no continuity, and unlike in the parliamentary system apparently, and here you can have like everything overturned at the drop of a hat. Okay, premise established. Reality. Now go ask to every crazy leftist who has the sensibility of what you just saw there from Nancy Pelosi, no matter what age they are, and ask them point blank right now, which one of Donald Trump's efforts or Republican efforts do you plan on holding because you agree with it? They're going to overturn everything, and they're going to put you in jail just for breathing. It's just amazing. Like, you don't even, sir. You don't believe a word that you just said. Not one. So
he said there can't be a shadow ruler like he was.
He was the shadow ruler.
I know.
Yeah. I know.
He did it anyway.
Well, listen, the entire premise of his argument, how would the ensuing president be able to come in and just take Barack Obama's agenda and get rid of it unless Barack Obama just used executive authority that he really doesn't have to implement all of it, and so executive authority was used to undo it. You see what I'm trying? The entire thing is a fallacy, not to mention, why don't you go over there and ask the guys in the UK that are about to have digital ID shoved right down their throats, if a parliamentary system moves slower and retains tradition and decorum longer, because something tells me that they might have a slight disagreement with that take.
He's the guy who said, I have a pen and a phone, right?
Yes, he had the pen and the phone.
So what are we talking about, Barack?
Aaron, what about you?
Yeah, I think the montage overall was fairly tame, but I was going to go to Barack Obama as well, talking about, I do have old-fashioned values, and let me tell you in the next breath about the trans issue as if we're debating marginal income tax rates. It's just, and then he goes on to say, I never called anybody a bigot who disagreed on this issue. That interview was 100%, 200 proof, straight up gaslighting, straight no chaser. That dude is just pathological, So that's probably the worst of the worst this week. And I don't know why. Both he and Kamala, I understand because she has Vodkala is out there a lot because she has a book out. So she's doing this tour. I don't understand why we've seen Barack Obama so much. I don't know if he feels his legacy. He feels whatever he built or whatever he tore down starting to slip through his hands or what have you. I don't understand why he's out there in the public eye on an increasing basis. But the dude is just the pathological gaslighter in chief now. So that dude's probably the worst. And I don't know, let's give an honorable mention once again to Nancy Pelosi. Speaking of vodka, she looked like she was about to throw hands with that poor reporter from Lindell TV.
Even though she can't walk on her own.
Even though she can't walk. At least she can walk, unlike Mitch McConnell. So I don't know. It was kind of yakety sax laugh track this week. Still really stupid, still really dumb, and a whole lot of evil.
I mean, Aaron, if they don't trot out Barack Obama, whom would you suggest in their current roster would be more popular and more articulate that they should use as a face for their political party instead?
Jasmine Crockett. AOC.
Oh, I would suggest Jasmine Crockett too, probably for the same reasons as you. But I mean, by the way, did Barack Obama always talk like this? Am I just missing something? Did it takes 17 minutes to say 3 words? Did he always talk like this?
Yeah, actually.
Without a teleprompter.
Yeah. I've said as much back in the day that if he doesn't have prompts, he's not Bill Clinton. I mean, Bill Clinton was silky smooth. Barack Obama has actually kind of done that for a while. Now his old man part of him may have kicked in as well, which draws it out too.
And to be fair, he got completely denutted by his wife earlier this year, who told millions of people she didn't have his son because she didn't want to have any little Baracks around. I mean, that'll cut a man right there to the quick.
I know why he's out more that nobody's mentioned.
Go ahead.
Most of his administration holdovers have now been neutered and removed, and indictments are coming down. So during the Obama administration is when all of the most of the Bolton-esque like things occurred, and when he was running the government from behind the scenes, the rest of them did. So he's just getting out in front of all that. He needs to assert himself again.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Let's get to the exit question. On a scale of 1 to 10, odds, the lovely and talented Tracy Beanz here has to worry about being creeped on by, of course, Lindsey Graham. Odds are low. And 10 being the dashing rogue Todd Erzin. Here he does, especially after Lindsey saw that shot of Todd there just kind of laying on the desk. Rank this week's level of total depravity. Todd.
You know what? I can't remember the last time I've given anything but a 9. I dropped down to 9. But basically, this was just the inept left. There was a bit of a laugh track to this one. So just based on this alone, I will give it a 7.
A 7. All right. What about you, Tracy? That's a low score for Todd. Go ahead.
I'm going to say 5, even though you snuck in Marjorie Taylor Greene, which was ridiculous. But yeah, a 5.
Oh, you mean, speaking of Lindsey Graham, those were his talking points from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah. By the way, I looked it up, Tracy. I looked it up. The average construction worker salary in the state of Georgia is $20 to $22 an hour. That's the average salary, okay? And that's with all the illegals driving the wages down. So you mean to tell me in the state of freaking Georgia, there are not enough men that want to make $20 to $22 an hour to work in the construction business, which if you got rid of the illegals, the wage would probably go up to like $25, $26, $27 an hour. We don't have enough men in a state like Georgia to take those jobs. I'm calling complete and total BS on that. All right. Aaron, what about you? What's your score?
I'm also at a 5. There was just, again, you want to call it ineptitude. You want to call it, what's the difference between stupid and evil? It's kind of in the eye of the beholder, but overall it was a tame week. So I'm at a 5 as well.
All right. Let's get to issue 2, the upcoming Virginia elections.
Virginia's off-year elections are shaping up to be somewhat of a stand-in for the state of play across the country. The races for offices like governor and attorney general seem to be a foregone conclusion in favor of Democrats. That was until Democrat attorney general nominee Jay Jones had old text messages surface, which saw him calling for the death of a GOP lawmaker in Virginia. That was the backdrop of this moment from the gubernatorial debate between Democrat Abigail Spanberger and Republican Winsome Earl Sears.
Would it take him pulling the trigger? Is that what would do it? And then you would say he needs to get out of the race? Abigail, you have nothing to say? Abigail, what if he said it about your 3 children? Is that when you would say he should get out of the race, Abigail? You're running to be governor.
Miss Earl Sears.
I mean, we're talking about murder. We're talking about someone's life being taken from them. Have you nothing to say about that? Are you not going to address it? Really, you can't go any further. You're a governor. You're supposed to stand up for all the people. Are you saying political murder is all right? Have some political courage. What you have done is you are taking political calculations about your future as governor. Well, as governor, you have to make hard choices, and that means telling Jay Jones to leave the race.
So historically and traditionally, the Virginia off-year elections have, kind of a spotty record. Like Ken Cuccinelli narrowly lost a gubernatorial bid there, and then Republicans turned around in 2013. He did. Republicans turned around in 2014 and had an absolutely phenomenal red wave midterm election. In 2021, Glenn Youngkin won the governor's race there. But then in 2022, Republicans nationwide, except in places like Tracy's Florida, underperformed in the midterm election. So since it became more of a swing state leaning blue, its record of kind of heralding what's to come is not that great. However, Todd, I wonder, given clips like what you just saw in Aaron's introduction there, and we're not really now talking about local issues or technocratic issues, but stuff of deep existential import. Could it be that now that we're out in the open with Democrat murder fetishes, this really will be kind of a test case to see how much the American people are willing to be pushed into murder fetishes by the Democratic Party?
I don't know. Steve, Loudoun County, Virginia, is one of the great hellscapes in this nation. And here, the thing about our current American politic is her actions in not disavowing this, and then her behavior that you just saw to the people of Loudoun County, that's actually value added. They're not embarrassed by it. That's their girl. And I don't know enough about the local politics to know the balance of so-called independents, moderates, where they stand. But they like that school district. I mean, should have been salted over. And and we've seen behavior after behavior after behavior in response to that that district, despite, a girl getting raped and her dad getting arrested for protesting it, that a gal like this, there's no shame factor. Like, wow, the lay of the land has really changed. I better come correct. That's obviously not the case. So I'm more worried that, Steve, if you're right about this, it's in the direction that we won't like very much. Like, I just don't see any evidence that, based on what has actually happened in Virginia, that the worldview we'd like to see champion is rising there like it has risen in other places.
All right. Aaron, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, none of us are, that I know of anyway, are Virginia Politico insider types. Trying to look back at, history in this race, I think it was about a 2.5-point margin at this juncture back in 2021 between McAuliffe and Youngkin. As it stands now, and I'm talking about the RCP average, as it stands now, it's like a 6-point average, although there are some recent polls I've seen that are closer than that. But this should be, if it's not a referendum, it should be a referendum on just what kind. Do we see politics as doing civil war without going hot, or is it just an extension of the going hot part, as it seems like Jay Jones wants to do? People like Jay Jones want to do. I fear, even people on our side already, and definitely across the aisle, my fear is that we have just become numb to this sort of rhetoric, even in the face of watching what we watched about a month and a half ago. My fear is that we've just become numb to this already. And if you become numb to things like, if there were, 3 different types of just hideous figures on the world stage and I had 2 bullets, both of them would go into some rando GOP lawmaker nobody's ever heard of, that level of seething and rage is unnatural. Mm-hmm. It's not just uncouth, it's not just uncivilized, it's unnatural. And if we become numb to stuff like that, and I don't care if we're talking about leaning blue Virginia, if that's a bellwether for the rest of the country, just turn out the lights as it stands.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Tracy, you get the last word on this particular question. What do you think?
I left watching that after lots of people talking about how weak Winsome Sears was or is, or how badly she's doing, saying you can't get more authentic than she was. She was earnestly concerned about it, and you could feel the chill in the air as what's-her-name stood there just not saying a word, and you could tell the energy coming off her was that she agreed with him, and you could feel it. Like she would, it doesn't take a lot to denounce that. I mean, we denounce things like that all the time, but she was just afraid to do it because she's afraid of the retribution. And I think she agrees. So hopefully that translates to moms and to women out there who might have been watching, not sure what they're going to do. I think we have an active voter base still hiding that just watches things and takes them in and then makes decisions later. And I'm hoping that humanity comes out on top in this one. She could have denounced what he said and said it's up to the voters. She didn't even do that. She just stood there. So that's my take.
All right. So in a minute, we'll have the exit question where I'll ask you guys to predict what you think is going to happen in these Virginia elections. But we got about 4 minutes here. Let's discuss what happens if there are no penalties whatsoever for having out and proud murder fetishes for your opponents, and then refusing to condemn them when people on your side actually that are running for office with you articulate these things, and yet you still win. Despite how out in the open this is. This story has been covered immensely in the state of Virginia. So if either Jay Jones or Spanberger win, and especially if both do, it tells us blank about where we are. Todd.
Well, this is related to what Tracy said, but mine is far more cynical. But we are way too comfortable. You'll go there, take a trip to Virginia. People going to the games, going to the mall, doing their thing. If that wins, I'm just telling you, it's a version of hell on earth that people have just come to accept as that's just life as we know it now.
Mm-hmm. Aaron.
pretty much the same. I mean, you just cannot afford to become numb to that. It also proves to Democrats across the country that you really can afford to be post-pragmatic. You really can. You can just throw pragmatism out the window and still win the elections. That's also a very dangerous precedent I don't think you want to set. I mean, yeah, pragmatism leads to a lot of compromises. We've talked about this on our side a lot. Compromise this. Oh, we got to be pragmatic. We got to win elections. A similar dynamic existed on the left for a long time. Hey, we don't want to go all the way left here. We gotta lie a little bit to get elected. If you can throw that out the window on the left and still get elected, that's trouble.
What do you think, Tracy?
I think we're going to have two very separate worlds, and they will both exist. And I know that sounds crazy. I think we're going to have the world where people realize they want no part of that anymore and just separate themselves from it completely. And the world where people think it's okay to use that to their advantage and to just engage in blood sport in politics. And I think that the more people open their eyes, the more people reconnect to God, the less impact those crazy lunatics who are completely disconnected will have on the general population. But there will always be crazy lunatics. You're not going to get rid of them. Things have to sometimes hit an absolute extreme for people to realize what's going on. Look at the trend in trans ideology as it's going downhill really quickly. I think that's where we're at right now. We're on the down part of this disgusting uphill battle we've been fighting.
I don't see any way this doesn't metastasize if they win doing this. And I think especially they're already in a position in states like Colorado and California of just taking your children from you. If you are in a hardcore blue state where Republicans have no chance of winning, guys, I just think this is just going to be communicated out loud on the regular in these places. That'll be the message. Because this is where a significant portion of the Democrat social media base is. Whether that's, where the average, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers there in Port St. Lucie, Florida, where Tracy now lives, whether that's what they think, I have no idea. But politicians don't really care what the people at the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers think anymore. So I can tell you that this is where their social media base, it's where their hearts are. And if they win doing this, it's going to metastasize. And you're going to see in Illinois and in Washington and in Oregon and in California and in Connecticut and New York, this will become absolute just part of the vernacular now. Let's get to the exit question. What do you think happens in these Virginia elections about 3 weeks from now? Tracy?
I think Sears is going to win.
You do? First of all, do we all think Jay Jones is toast, or do we think he could still win?
I think he could still win. Yeah. I don't think he will, but he could. He absolutely could win.
Okay. Todd, what about you? You think he could still win?
Yeah, I do. Can you remind me how Trump did in Virginia in 2024?
Off the top of my head, I want to say lost by 7 or 8. Off the top of my head.
Okay.
So I think Jay Jones is pretty close to toast. So does Spanberger win, Todd? Tracy says no. What do you think?
I think they're both going to probably win.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. I think Jones will be toast, but he thinks they're both going to win. Aaron, what about you?
I think Spanberger wins, yes. And by the way, Vodkala, won Virginia 51% to 46%.
So it was a little closer than I thought. It was a 5-pointer. Okay. Yeah,
part of it too is they can't. It's not just any old Republican. It's okay. It's the white guy that you can use as a foil. You think they want to run up against a black woman? They're going to come out even more hot on the left and anybody who's prone to the left. They're not going to stay home. They can't have a black woman who's conservative as their governor.
All right, when we come back, let's talk some MAHA. Stay tuned.
Deace Show.
All right, back here on the Steve Deace Show, and in these unprecedented times,
Bing.
Make sure that you have a real estate agent you can trust for if and when we actually have a real estate market again. Where would you find such an agent? Well, the name of the website says it all. Go to realestateagentsitrust.com. Again, that's realestateagentsitrust.com to find an agent whose track record of success has been verified before we recommend them to you. And then a lot of times they'll come from right here in this Blaze audience as well. So whether you're trying to get across the country, trying to get across town, ultimately what you want to do is get across the finish line of what can be a stressful process even when things are going well. And right now they're not. Realestateagentsitrust.com is where you want to go to find the kind of agent that you'll be recommending to your friends and loved ones for years to come. At realestateagentsitrust.com. All right, we welcome back in Tracy Beanz, and you'll find out in a few minutes what she's been up to and is about to launch. As we continue on your weekly look at the week that was with issue 3, America is gaga for MAHA.
Despite some early turmoil from within during the first part of the tenure of MAHA's reign at HHS and across public health agencies, and constant attempts to undermine MAHA from without along the way, the Make America Healthy Again movement continues to roll on. According to Signal Research, 74% of midterm voters support implementing new health policies that challenge the status quo if they improve public health. According to Signal as well, that includes 57% of Kamala Harris voters. Seems like any reports of MAHA's demise are greatly exaggerated.
All right, so the first question here, Todd, goes to you. Is this MAHA thing, is this thing poised to go mainstream here? What do you think?
There's a certain degree of relative imminence to that's my interpretation, and because I'm a magical power of vaccines guy, be careful on if your reach exceeds your grasp on this thing, this whole thing will come crumbling down. It's October, guys, of year 1 of Trump 2.0. There's so much work to do. The entrenched interests that depend on having the old school model of healthcare across the board. Our team, our ranks are growing. That's fantastic. But we are absolutely not poised for some level of permanent realization that the world is going to change and never be the same again. Absolutely not. We're not even close to there yet.
All right. So, Tracy, you're part of this. You're in this orbit as well. You have Todd's somewhat cynicism here or cautionary tale, or are you more devil-may-care optimistic?
No, I'm so optimistic. If you extrapolate what he's talking about out of government into the psyche of the random people walking around, there's one conversation I can confidently have with anybody at the supermarket today or anyone in general life that is not politics-centric and focused, and it's about their health. Every single person I bump into anywhere is talking about being more healthy. And that's not because of necessarily MAHA, but I think there's a sea change going on where people understand that they're basically pill poppers every single day and they're tired of feeling like doo-doo and they want to change it. And this has been going on outside of politics. So there's a huge shift happening. You're not going to all of a sudden say, yeah, I stopped eating ultra processed foods because they made me feel bad. And now, you know what? HHS is all finished with, in the Trump admin. I'm just going to go back to popping that, kettle corn and Takis bag from behind me again, because why would I continue to keep my body healthy after this administration is gone? And besides that, to his point, it is only October. And look at all of the things we've accomplished so far. It's been stunning to see what's happened. And I'm excited to keep it going. I think we have momentum, and I don't think it's going anywhere.
All right. Now, I'm curious, Todd, I want to give you a chance at a counterpoint. If you have one, or you're just going to let her, you're good with what she said just from her perspective.
And I am not without optimism. I just remember, Donald Trump just got his booster here, and all it took was a bad flu. And yes, we already knew that's what it was before it even got here. If we didn't know from China, we knew from Italy, and we shut everything down. My faith in the American people on this, not just this issue, but all other issues, is like as soon as it gets a little uncomfortable, they will scurry. So I don't disagree with the words she said about people's eyes are being opened, but I just know that I know who we are. I know human nature. So I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a both and. We need to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. And you heard both versions there.
All right. On redirecting, because you're the guest, you get the last word, Trace, because Todd will be here on Monday. So he gets to keep talking. So you go ahead. What do you think?
I absolutely agree with him about President Trump supposedly taking the COVID vaccine booster. However, you would never have seen the visceral reaction to that you saw across the board if we weren't making progress and extreme amounts of it. Mm-hmm. He took so much for doing that. People were beside themselves. It went on for days.
I mean, we've called taking COVID boosters intelligent tests on this show.
It is. I mean, yeah. I can't even believe it's true. I can't even believe he said it. It's almost like it was part of some deal he made with Borla or something.
I guarantee it was part of a deal that was made. Guarantee.
I don't think he actually got it. He knows if he's questioning separating MMR, he knows. He knows. And there's no way he's injecting that into his body. Now, we can debate and argue whether or not he should be telling everyone else to do it. That's a whole different conversation. But I doubt he actually really did it. I doubt his doctor would give it to him. At this point, we know enough. So that being said, the reaction to him tells us everything we need to know. But I agree. We do have to keep fighting, and we will. So we'll get there.
All right. Aaron, you're the voice of reason here. Between the two, you get the last word.
I am more in line with Tracy, I think, in terms of optimism. It's kind of, to me, this entire MAHA movement and trying to change the agencies at the federal government. And this is one thing where it's like federalism can work, but it's also, we're regulated by and large. There's our by and large for the day. We're regulated by and large by federal agencies, by national agencies. So this is a time where it's absolutely appropriate to take your movement, not just from the states or not just from the cheap seats or the flyover country, whatever you want to call it. You have to go right to the top. But I kind of liken this to climbing Mount Everest. It's a tall mountain, the tallest there is. It's really, really arduous. It's really, really tall. It's really, really hard. You have to train and train and train and train for months. And finally, once you're all done training, once you've got your plans in place, once you know all the procedures, once you do everything, do you climb that mountain? Nope. You got to go travel to the mountain to be able to climb on it. And then once you get to the mountain, you got to go through all of these, what is it called? Acclimatization, whatever it's called, where you have to actually get your body used to those levels of air pressure and those levels of oxygen. I think that's kind of the phase that we've gone through this time. And now we're actually walking up the mountain. So yes, it's a tall mountain, the tallest that there is. And I think that is apropos in our society where we have totally bastardized what health care and what actual health means in this country. It's sick care all of a sudden. It is a tall mountain, the tallest there is to climb. But you have to actually get to that mountain. You have to acclimatize in that mountain and in that space. And then you can start climbing up that mountain. So yes, it is still an arduous task ahead for sure. But I think we're actually climbing the mountain now. I think we've gotten through some of the early growing pains, and I think we're starting up that mountain because I'm going to stop talking now because I can go, but I can see the way that they're operating. And I happen to think that the way that they're going about this, let's just take autism, for example. I think the way that they're going about it is probably the only way that our people, and I agree with Todd's assessment of the people, I think it's the only way that the people would be able to tolerate, I think, what I see them doing.
It's good stuff, Aaron. Let's get to the exit question. Is this a MAHA moment like we had with Ron Paul and his brand of libertarianism, where the power of Ron Paul's persona made a niche of a niche of a niche ideology have a moment where it had broader appeal? Similar, maybe swap out Ron Paul for RFK Jr., for example. Is it that, or is this thing now a permanently impactful movement? What do you think, Trace?
Having been very, very, very involved in the Ron Paul revolution, I would say that this is permanent. I would argue that's kind of permanent too. I mean, the tangents of that still play on today. Sometimes you hear Trump saying things that Ron Paul said, and you're like, wait a second, what? So yeah, I mean, I believe that this is permanent. Nobody gets healthy or decides to get healthy and then decides they're going to be sick again. And as more people wake up, this revival that's going on religiously across the country and across the world, and in fact, as more people try to reconnect to God, the stronger this will get, because you cannot be sick and really have an amazing connection to our Creator, because then you're constantly asking to be made well instead of, connecting and being one with God or talking to God. So being well is a prerequisite, and everybody's pushing to be well. People having spiritual awakening right now and realizing their faith again are saying, I need to be healthy. And that's just what happens. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. It's a pull and a call. I don't think that that's going anywhere anytime soon, ever.
I'm gonna test your thesis, because 9 months out of the year, I do not consume a lot of processed foods. And then when it becomes pumpkin spice season, I'm like, inject those chemicals into my veins. All right. Todd, what about you?
Yeah, Tracy and I are in total agreement on this. I think it's a permanently impactful movement, which is different than mainstream. I think it is a very strong coalition full of, and I had the pleasure of meeting Del. I know Tracy works with Del all the time, but he's a giant, and now all these other people that are on the team that we hadn't heard of before, Peter McCullough, Jay Bhattacharya, they're out and speaking about this too. So that team has grown, and so there's a strong coalition. But just that doesn't mean it's mainstream yet.
Aaron, quickly, what's your answer?
Yeah, I'm in the permanent headspace.
All right, now the kicker topic this week is, if you could make one unilateral change to current American healthcare policy, what would it be and why? Tracy, I'm going to start with you, because it sounds like you're already about to do the very thing you would have said, that you're about to launch something. Tell our audience about it.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been working really hard on this with Del, actually. It's a new nonprofit we're going to be launching here in the next couple months. What it is your one-stop educational hub for all things natural medicine, cutting the head of the snake off, getting rid of big pharma completely, and reconnecting people to their innate wisdom on how to heal through the use of what we had used to heal for millions of years before. Chiropractic, Ayurveda, massage therapy, herbalism, every kind of natural health modality you can think of. You come, you learn. It's called Wisdom, by the way, the organization. You come, you learn, and then you can connect to a practitioner in your local area through our portal, which will be available for everybody. So that's what we've been working on. I'm so excited for this to get going, because people need it so badly. All of these things in one place. I would actually change healthcare to remove the big insurance companies and make everything little co-op insurance if necessary, because insurance is what's killing cost, which is what most Americans are feeling right now. But let's heal naturally if we can, and that's what I'm working towards.
Tracy, real quick, is there a website or something people can go to follow this as it emerges?
Not just yet, but it will be soon.
Or they could follow you on X. What's your X account handle?
It's at Tracy Beanz. Or you can follow Wisdom. It's at WISDM. And I forget what the end of it is, because we haven't used it yet, but we're getting there.
All right, good stuff. We look forward to seeing what you guys can come up with there. Todd, what's your answer?
Well, she's absolutely right about insurance. One of the natural modalities I hope Wisdom at least focuses on in part is natural childbirth. If you can get women believing in their strength in that moment, total game changer. All 4 of my daughters born at home to my wife, the strength is unbelievable. It gives them so much confidence to see the world differently than the hospital experience.
It's actually one of the first ones we're launching with, Todd.
Awesome.
So yes, we agree 100%.
Just don't put Ricky Lake in the videos, man. All right, don't do that. Just don't do that. All right.
Well, before you can even get to the point that Todd is talking about, the more that I learn and the more that my wife has told me about, and I've known this as well, but the pill and the impacts of that on women is just ridiculous. So I would say, unless it's in extreme circumstances, no, I don't think that needs to be the norm, taking the pill.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our predictions. Todd, I'm going to let you go first. Go ahead.
Within the next couple years, and this is following off the heels of Trump and what he's doing to clean up cities, state governors and legislatures are going to be taking over city government and school boards on the semi-regular. It is the next step. You just cannot have a place like Texas having Austin run the way it is. It's insane.
Tracy?
I predict that Florida will have no property taxes by the end of 2026.
That would be something. So what's the counter proposal from a funding mechanism? Increase the sales tax? What's going to be the counter for that, do you think?
No, it's a removal of property taxes on people who homestead. So every single investor who owns home or whatever doesn't live here full time will still be paying property taxes. And the tourism funds a significant amount into the economies of these counties. And trust me, it needs to happen. And
something tells me Mr. Uthmeyer may want to look into maybe if some politicians who come to your state to, whether they're claiming to be homesteaders or not. I think you're picking up maybe what I'm letting down. Yeah, there might be a potential story there, potentially. Aaron, quickly, what's your prediction?
By this time next year, the ceasefire will have held in Israel, and we will be discussing Hamas as if it were a historical organization and not an actual player.
So my prediction kind of dovetails with yours. I think at least one more member of the dwindling number of Hamas leaders that are still alive is going to be taken out relatively soon by Israel as a result of Hamas's attempts to test the resolve of the ceasefire. In fact, Trump said this morning exactly what I predicted on Wednesday he was going to say. He said, listen, if you guys keep up with this, I'll just tell Israel, just go back to wiping you out. We'll just wipe you completely out then. Those are your choices. And I think I think they're going to test that resolve. They have no more cards to play. And I think it's going to cost at least one more Hamas leader. There's not many of them left, but it's going to cost at least one more of them their life here in a relative short order. Tracy, good to see you as always. One more time, give people your Twitter handle so they can keep up to date on this project you guys are working on with Del Bigtree.
Yeah, thank you. It's at Tracy Beanz with a Z at the end of it. And you'll get all the info there, and I'll be talking about this a lot more. It's so important. So honored.
Have you done all the Florida attractions? Have you done Busch Gardens, Universal, Disney? Have you done any of those yet?
You know what I've done? I've done walking Jensen Beach over here, which is absolutely beautiful. I have no desire to go do tourism things. I want to go to the springs, but I love where I am. I'm just so happy here. It's been a blessing.
Well, I've got lots of friends that have moved there, so you're not alone. Good to see you as always. All right, don't be a stranger, okay?
Yeah, thanks.
You bet. All right, guys, when we come back, it's going to be your turn. We are going to have Feedback Friday next for hour 2 right here on the Steve Deace Show on The Blaze. Stay tuned. Back here with hour 2 here on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. Steve Deace here. One more hour here from Columbia, South Carolina before I hop on a plane. Head home. Thank you to TP USA Faith for last night's event here at the University of South Carolina. Hopefully the first of many on the college tour for yours truly. Todd Erzin and Aaron McIntyre. They're back there in our posh Des Moines studios. We're brought to you by our friends over at Church, Chirp, I should say. I'm not easy to convince when it comes to some of these kinds of products, particularly when it comes to pain relief products. You want to make sure you try them out, especially the stuff that you use at home, because a lot of them are gimmicks, but not the Chirp Contour. For me, it worked. So much plane travel I've done recently, and my neck, man, I can't sleep on falling asleep on planes, and I just wake back up and my neck's kind of dangling there, and I've got a trigger point out and everything else. So I tried the Chirp Contour when we got back from our Florida vacation, and I was amazed how much better my neck felt. I'll be doing it again when I get back from this trip as well, because Chirp's mission is simple: to bring relief to as many people as possible so that you can feel better, restore your energy, and make self-care simple. And their vision with Chirp, they've created a whole new category called relief, and they're constantly innovating to deliver professional-grade therapies people can use at home that are doctor-trusted, FDA-cleared devices that work just like the clinic treatments as well. So you can try the Chirp Contour and all their other great products when you visit gochirp.com, like Birdie Chirps. Gochirp.com/Steve. Gochirp.com/Steve, and use the promo code Steve at checkout for 10% off when you go to gochirp.com/Steve and use the promo code Steve for the 10% off discount site-wide. All right, that's going to bring us to Feedback Friday. Are you guys ready to go?
Absolutely.
All right. Luke in Neosha, Missouri writes, people who confuse entomology with etymology bug me in ways I cannot put into words.
Nice.
I thought that was a high-quality dad joke. Thoughts?
I loved it. And it's aimed at me, so perfect.
To be fair, Todd, the first time you said entomology, you said it correctly. You didn't say it. But at that point, once we had you, we had to bust your balls. So,
Oh,
you,
no. Well,
you said it correctly.
I thought I did, but they are so close. They are close enough. I realized it may have been.
We gaslight you. We gaslit you in real time.
No,
we proved you are trollable.
Yep.
This was no. On this one, clearly, it's not like across the board. This one, well done, everybody. Well trolled.
I love Aaron when he said, I'm untrollable. Like Thanos, I'm inevitable. Erzin, I'm untrollable. All right, let's continue on. I love you guys' show because of you got your 3 and your example and testimony. And I've been opening up because of that to the idea that I can actually receive God and might be able to be forgiven, though I don't deserve it. And then Charlie Kirk was murdered, and I realized that I need God, that the evil in this world and in my own heart is wrong. I have a CSB, Apologetic Study Bible on the way. I have no idea what any of that means, but it was $22 on Amazon. I love that. Jason Buttrell was talking on Glenn's show recently and mentioned that there are tons of men out there who fantasize about the opportunity to charge into the breach with a flaming sword, waiting for the opportunity to fight and win glory and honor. That fits me to a T, but I want to do it because of John 15:13 in the hopes that I might redeem myself of my own failings, but that's not enough to get into heaven. Though I would gladly fight and die if that's what's required of me. So you see, I'm angry, I'm arrogant, gung-ho, and ready to do battle like the next Aragorn, but I'm Boromir, who desperately needs to be Faramir. So I need some help. What does a relationship with God actually look like? I'm 31. My parents want me to constantly look to God in all I do. Why? If I'm responsible for my own actions and the consequences of what I do always come around, then what role does God play? Does God actually talk to people? Does he give you a slap on the back or of the head and say, no, don't do that? What does that feel like? Does God provide peace? Will he cure bipolar and PTSD? How do I read this Bible I bought? Why do churchgoers talk about how blessed they are when it seems to me what they talk about is basic, good human, responsible choices? Does God provide relief from shame and make it easier to forgive myself of my own sin and embarrassment? What does God moving in my own life look like? How does relationship with God affect my work life? And would God help me not be single anymore? I'll be honest, man, the idea of giving up control when I live in self-defense mode scares me. And this is from A. He wanted the rest of his name withheld. So I'm going to each give Todd and Aaron a crack at this, A, but I'm going to start with a meta response. The answers to all of your questions, first of all, these are all excellent questions, and they demonstrate a sincerity for you to want to know God. The highest aim of man is to know Christ and be known by him. Now, I would argue the best way, notice I did not say only, the best way to know Christ is through his word. It's among the most intimate ways that you can know God. And many of the answers that you're seeking, you're going to find there. In terms of how to open it and read it and study it for the first time, I think it varies for the person. I think for some people, and not knowing you, I don't know which way. But to me, the two best ways are, for some people, just start at the beginning and just start reading it. For other people, I would say start with the Gospels first, and then determine where you want to go from there. Maybe to Genesis at that point. Start then at the beginning. But ultimately, every aspect of the human condition is addressed in the Word of God. Every single one. The Word of God does not hide whatsoever. As Todd likes to say, we have a rated R faith. And the Bible may not consider specific words that we would describe in our era as crude or profane, but it is explicit in some of the rated R aspects of human nature and confronting them. And let me go to one part of your note in particular. You're right. Why do churchgoers talk about how blessed they are when it seems to me that what they talk about is basic, good human, responsible choices? But then you say right after that, does God provide relief from shame and make it easier to forgive myself of my own sin and embarrassment? If it was merely people making good human, responsible choices, why would there ever be any sin or embarrassment? See, what you're going to learn from the Word of God, is you cannot consistently make good human and responsible choices. You're a sinner. And neither can I. I mean, heck, I've been walking with the Lord for almost 20 years. And 5.5 years ago, I was this close. My wife and I were to walking out on each other. It's hard to make good human, responsible choices when you're walking with the Lord. It's way harder when you're not. Why? Because there's something wrong with us. There's something broken within us. And the only antidote to that something is Christ. As my old friend Todd used to say, our brains are busted. Paul describes this in Romans 7. The good I want to do, I don't. The evil I don't want to do, I do. What a wretch am I? Who will save me from this? Right? So they may seem like basic, good, human, responsible choices, but on the other hand, we all have shame and need forgiveness, and we all have sin and embarrassment in our lives. So why can't we just keep making good, human, basic, responsible choices? It's because of the sin and the shame that goes with it. And we're born with those things. And on our own, we cannot overcome those things. Which is why you were bought at a high price. Your shame and embarrassment was purchased at a high price. The price of the Son of God on the cross, on your behalf. To live a life of no sin that you could not live. To pay the penalty you should have paid. He endured your punishment for you. To die the death that you will die without him. But he died it first for you, so you don't have to. And so that now you can live abundant and eternal life with him. And now when the Spirit of God is alive in you, the hope of glory, Christ in you, now this is almost a gut level instinct to want to make good human and responsible choices. But still not all of the time. That's why Paul also writes, I have to die daily. Every day I need to again be reminded of who I am, who Christ is, and what he did for me because of who I am. And therefore, when I remember that, who that makes me now. And just like any other discipline, at first it's hard, then it gets easier. And then more and more it becomes like second nature. And of course, the root word of discipline, disciple. Which is what Jesus wants you to be, his disciple, to follow him. But the understanding, the best place to find the understanding of these distinctions and dilemmas, and then to receive the grace and love of Christ, to then do what he says, I think the best way, not the only, but the best way, is to have intimate knowledge of his word, which is among the most intimate ways that God will communicate to you. You guys want to add anything to this at all?
The control part, not wanting to give it up. First of all, that's not unique to you. That's one of the biggest things any Christian has to deal with. And we are more addicted to that in this day and age in ways that we don't understand, because for most of human history, there were very few variables you could control for various reasons. And in the modern day and age, there's all kinds of things at your disposal that you can manipulate to anesthetize yourself. These are all self-medications of various kinds. The way we choose to spend our downtime being a big one, where it's an endless pursuit of comfort. So I would absolutely start manipulating your variables. I don't know what they all are. We are at, disadvantage in terms of that. Start manipulating the variables in your life and feeling out of control on purpose. Taking away. This is a fasting process. This is absolutely biblical, and fasting isn't just about food. Give yourself a Lent right now. Start pulling back on things and seeing how it affects you. You might think, if I give up this hobby farm, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm not saying the hobby farm itself is evil. Find out how you are owned by everything in your life. Because you might be surprised in a lot of different ways, both positively and negatively. Secondly, the peace and joy thing. Your definitions of those right now are from the perspective of somebody who, by your own admittance, is broken, jaded. And the definitions of those words and their potential aren't even close to what you understand right now. Because real peace and joy can be said, and I used this fairly recently, I don't remember the context, but I'll tell you what, St. Joan of Arc, when she was being executed, burnt at the stake, she said, "Hold high the cross so I can see it through the flames." That's peace and joy. All right? It can come in hard circumstances. It can come under duress. Most people think it's just about, I'm in a spa. No, that's a lie, actually. The peace and joy is the cross. So understand that and it's okay. You don't know what those terms completely, you're yearning, you just know you don't want what you have now. This sounds like a good alternative. Allow those words room to grow into Christ's definitions and not your own.
It sounds like to me, if I may put it bluntly, A needs to die, and Aaron needs to die daily, and Steve needs to die daily, and Todd needs to die daily. You need to crucify the flesh. And when I say that, I don't say that when Paul talks about dying daily. It's a daily thing. It's not a one-time thing. If you've been on the road for 30 years or 60 years of walking with your Lord, it's still something that person has to do. The same as somebody who has been on the road for 3 hours or 6 days or a month. And when Paul is talking about dying daily, it is a direct callback to Christ saying, take up your cross. Take up your cross. What does taking up your cross mean? What would you be doing? Taking up a cross. What did Christ do? Where was he headed? He was headed towards resurrection, but death first and resurrection. It's something that we have to do daily. And it's something that I'm trying to encourage you, regardless of how long you've been on the road of walking that narrow road with your Savior, it's something that everybody has to do. You've never arrived east of Eden in the Christian faith. And I think it's better to get that out of your thinking earlier than later. Progressive sanctification, it's just the process of growing in holiness. You don't just arrive someday and hey, we're all done here. I'm perfect. No, it's something that we all have to do every single day. So I think control, and that's something that everybody struggles with and everybody thinks that they can contend with by themselves, controlling different aspects of your life, controlling different facets of your relationships. That's just, you have to crucify that and let go and surrender. And it's easier said than done, but that's something that if you talk to senior saints, as we like to call them in Protestant land, the seasoned saints that are still earnestly walking with their Savior in their 70s or 80s, I'm guessing if they're honest, they'll tell you the exact same thing as it is now, as it was in their 20s and 30s. So just want to encourage you. You have to die daily, but you're not alone. You're not alone. The crucial thing, like I was saying last hour about the mountain that is public health in this country, before you can climb that mountain, you have to get to the mountain. And it sounds like you're at base camp right now, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
You know, our friends over at Moxie Pest Services, they're celebrating their silver anniversary because they've been good at this for 25 years. And as the weather turns colder, you know, you have the leaves, the crisp mornings. Unfortunately, the pests also, they notice the cooler weather this time of year. Mice, spiders, all kinds of bugs. They start looking for a sanctuary indoors. And once they're in, it's a nightmare to deal with on your own. That's why you want to contact our friends over at Moxie Pest Services. They don't just spray and leave. They build protective barriers around your home before the pests even think about moving in. All right, this isn't some DIY spray from the hardware store either. Pests are a lot smarter than that. You need pros who know how to spot the entry points, the hiding places, stop the problem before it starts, right? And they care a lot at Moxie. That's why they train all their technicians every single day with the latest cutting-edge technologies to rid your home of the pests. Make sure they're practicing the lost art of customer service so they aren't the actual pests. This is why. This kind of thorough follow-through, that's why they've been around for 25 years. And to help them celebrate their silver anniversary, you can get your first pest control service for just $25 when you visit moxieservices.com/Steve. MOXIE for moxieservices.com/Steve, and use the promo code Steve for that special offer, $25 for your first pest control service. With promo code Steve, when you visit moxie.com/Steve. All right, this is from J.R. McNee. You and the guys talk often about men needing to be men, leading their families, being better stewards of morals and role models. I guess I really didn't take that to heart until recently. The wife and I were having a conversation, and I was getting mad, and I allowed my pride to. I said some things that I truly regret, have no way of taking back or fixing the damage those words did to our marriage. I grabbed the car keys and went to run some errands to escape the situation. The first stop was a local gas station where I was greeted by some teenagers. The man that spoke to me was a preteen boy. In that moment, he was the man I needed to listen to. He said they were praying over people and then assisting with gas via a gift card. He asked if they could pray over me. I politely accepted the prayer and declined the gift card. Others need that more than me. My prayer request was for peace. It hit me like a ton of bricks that this preteen boy was preaching to me about what I needed the most. Peace and calm. He seemed to understand what sort of peace I needed, or was it God talking to him or talking to me through him? I grew up in the Methodist church, but I've been gone from regular attendance for years, which means you've still got a chance with God, brother. Just kidding, kinda. Do I believe in God? Yes. Do I believe Jesus died for me and my sins? Yes. But I don't consider myself saved necessarily or Christian. However, this interaction gave me the desire to walk closer to God and to be a better man, as you guys define what a man is. I'm now attempting to fix the damage done by my pride, anger, and lack of self-control. And the one person who was simply trying to express a frustration regarding a situation that neither of us had any control over. Like all couples, our marriage isn't perfect, and we have moments, both good and bad. We do, however, work hard to be in tune with each other and show that we care. But the hole that I dug here is both deep and large, and putting down the shovel for me is step one. I've got a much larger task at hand than proving how big of a jerk I can be. Please keep up the work you guys do. It does make a difference, even for knuckleheads like me. You guys want to lead this one off with JR?
Well, I don't need to know the specifics as much as in this one as the last to know that most times when it comes to these kinds of marital fights, not all the time, it's because of a very simple thing, and it's selfishness. My ring, in Latin, dua hac unulo unus fient, two shall be made one. That's reality. That's the ball game. It's what everybody should understand when they get into it. Unfortunately, you weren't raised, people in general aren't raised enough by their family structure, by society in general, by the church to understand what this whole ball game is about. But once you're in it, that's what it is. And we talked about dying daily to sin, but you die daily to self in marriage. And most times it's just people, again, talking about control. The I wants to have a lot of control over things and doesn't really want to sacrifice. In sickness and in health, richer and poorer. Those aren't the only. There's explicit categories mentioned there regarding marriage, but it is about to say in all seasons, at all times, you are now a we. And we just we lie to ourselves all the time, and especially in this modern age, because we have more things that I can do, that I like. This is my preference. But the game is still exactly the same. You chose to become a we. God wants you to be a we. Anytime you do things that get in the way of that, even if the thing that's taking you away from that isn't evil in and of itself, but this is where idolatry comes in. If your preferences are too selfish, something along the lines of what you're talking about is going to be inevitable. And it sounds like you had a moment of great grace, and I would hold it as one of the most cherished gifts of your entire lifetime to realize, I don't want to be that anymore. So amen. Keep going on.
What you just said at the end there is a really, really good perspective, Todd, about having the realization that where I am right now is not where I should be, not where I want to be. And Scripture says, out of the heart, the mouth speaks. Your heart, maybe in that moment, maybe still in this moment in some ways that maybe you don't recognize yet with specificity, something is wrong there. And I think Todd is right on the money in saying a lot of the times in these relationships and marriage relationships, it's some sense of selfishness on some level that you may not even be aware of, may not be even aware of. And I wish I could sit here and tell you, this is true in a lot of relationships as well. I wish I could sit here and tell you that my mouth has always accurately reflected just a upstanding and perfect and well-heeled heart at all times with all relationships that I've had. And that's just not the truth. So you have come to the realization that this is not where you should be, this is not where you want to be, and that's wrong. What you did was wrong. You're not equivocating here. That's good. You may not realize the way. It might be simple. It might be fairly obvious to both you and your wife when you talk through it, if you can talk through it. It might not be. It might not be. It might be one sin disguised as another. I don't know. But you need to pray. Maybe ask for another person to come in and maybe mediate a discussion. Even if you don't think it's, quoting, even if both you and your wife may think it's at the end of the day, it's not that significant. One of the greatest lies ever told, honestly, and I thought this was hokey when the first time I heard it. Sticks and stones break my bones, but words will never hurt me. No, words have power. And I think you recognize that now. And unfortunately, you are on the other side of that, wielding that power in this circumstance. So I'd say pray, ask that the Holy Spirit would reveal the specific, maybe heart issue, sin issue that you're dealing with here, because you already recognize there is one there, but I think it's helpful to get specific with that. And if you attend church, ask one of your pastors or elders or deacons, or maybe just a trusted friend to maybe come talk out, or trusted couple, if your wife is in on this as well, would be fine with this as well, to maybe help you think through and talk through some of these things.
Great counsel from both of you. Let me add just maybe a first step that's very practical, because JR, I've been where you are. I have done what you have done. Maybe better, maybe worse. Again, I don't know the specifics of what was said or what it was about, but I have been the hothead. It is vitally important that your loved ones see you ask for their forgiveness and admit that you were wrong. My kids can tell you that, especially early on, as my conversion is just beginning to take hold, that can be a messy process. My kids can tell you when they were little, there were times I had to get down on my knee, look them in the eye, ask for their forgiveness. Daddy should not have let that happen, should not have said that to mom, should not have said that to you. I was wrong. I sinned against you. I'm sorry. I think that level of humility does not make you weak. It's empowering. And that level of transparency and honesty will cause the members of your household to respect you all the more. But particularly if that's followed with action and correction. Right? If you're doing that every single day, then we got a problem. But absolutely, they need to see contrition and humility. And you should display that. Ultimately, you are not headship does not mean authority. It means responsibility. So you are ultimately responsible to God for that home. But he is the authority over it. Which is why when you sin against him, you humble yourself in front of them, set the example for them, and you recognize that. And you model that to the rest of that home. And stay away. Don't go back to the Methodist Church. That's another piece of practical advice. Don't go back there. Don't go to that one. But if you do have a good Bible-believing church, chances are it won't be a Methodist one. Now listen, the 5 Methodist churches still preaching the Bible, their pastors are all listening right now, and they're all going to email me, and I look forward to being introduced to all of you. Okay. But if you have a church that believes in the Word of God and you're join it. Go there. Good way to find out. Look for churches in your area that are connected to TPUSA. I know they're actually coming up with a church master list. I know a church recommendation list. I know they're in the process of working on that as we speak. But first, you show the church to your loved ones and you practice contrition and repentance and ask for their forgiveness. More in a moment.
Steve Deace Show.
All right, back here on the Steve Deace Show, one final time here on a Friday from Columbia, South Carolina, before I jump on a plane and head back home. Thanks to TPUSA Faith for hosting us last night here at the University of South Carolina. We're brought to you by our friends over at Preborn. The headlines remind us daily that truth is being silenced. And when truth is silenced, lives are at risk. Imagine this, like maybe you're a single mom with 2 children, no money, no support. Then you find out you're pregnant again, and this time it is triplets. That was Veltasia's reality, and she was scared, afraid. And we make terrible decisions when they're based on fear. And she was considering being a murderess, murdering her 3 children. But then she walked into a Preborn Network clinic, and she was surrounded with the love, resources, and truth that convicted her that her babies' lives mattered. And now, today, all 3 of her children are alive and well with Mama because truth triumphed over fear. And someone like you helped her to find that truth, because for as little as $28, you can fund the ultrasound that may have convinced her and convinced the next scared woman like her to not commit the grave sin of murder against your own offspring. And this is why truth matters more now than ever before, because when a mother hears it, lives are literally saved. And for as little as $28, you can fund an ultrasound that could save a life as soon as today. This is your chance to make a difference that echoes into eternity by dialing pound 250 and saying the keyword baby on your mobile phone. You can donate today, or just donate securely at preborn.com/Steve. That's preborn.com/Steve. Do it now, because life matters. All right, guys, this one is a doozy. You ready for this?
No.
Not that the previous ones we've discussed, were lighthearted, okay, and just made you want to elbow guys on the ridge and slap your knee. But this one, listen to this. My 33-year-old sister is dating an illegal alien who's been here for 5 years, but refuses to even try to assimilate. He has never learned English, nor does he need to, since he lives in a community of Spanish speakers and my sister is fluent in his language. So there's a huge language barrier whenever we have tried to get to know him. She knows my stance on illegal immigration, so I said my piece once and then left her to make her own decisions. I don't believe in constant browbeating because I know it doesn't really do any good if the person's mind is already made up. But here's where the issue has come to, though. Thanksgiving is coming, and I have started hosting the holidays at our home. And of course, my sister wants to bring her illegal alien boyfriend with her. And I are both in our 40s. We have 2 young boys under 10. I'm not completely comfortable with welcoming someone in my home that I do not know and have no way of getting to know. But I told her that I would talk to my husband about it because ultimately it was his decision. Mind you, she was dishonest with us multiple times about his legal status because she didn't want me to report him to ICE, which I would not do. After talking about it, we decided that this year would be no. That if they were still together next year and we could get to know him, then maybe we could talk about it again. When I told her this, she flipped out. She said I was toxic, abusive, and not a Christian because a Christian would not act like that, but I didn't budge. When I called my mom to tell her of the decision, she doubled down and said that as a Christian, I should feel sorry for him and that what Trump is doing is horrible because they were lied to under Biden. In other words, they were invited to come and then, under false pretenses. I guess we are supposed to accept them all with open arms now. The point of the matter is my extended family is choosing an illegal alien that we can't even communicate with over my family. And we are the villains because we want to be able to know more about him before we bring him into our home and into our children's lives. Do you think there's any way this can be reconciled, or is this just one of those situations where I peace out? Thanks for taking the time to read this, Stacy Lucas.
Turn him into ice.
Oh gosh, Aaron, turn him. I didn't even. Are you being tongue in cheek or are you serious?
I'm serious.
All right, I'm going to give you the floor first. Then go ahead.
You don't know who he is. You don't know who he is. You don't know what he's done. You're well within your rights to not let him come into your home. You'd be nuts to let him come into your home.
Correct.
You would be uncaring and uncompassionate to your own freaking family. You don't know where he came from. If he's willing to lie about that, if he's willing to break our laws to come into this country, you better believe he's not telling the truth about his past. Now, he might be as pure as the driven snow. He might truly be one of the huddled masses. But my goodness, we're going to have to learn how to be a little bit mean. And I understand you want to have some compassion for your sister. I understand you want to have some sort of understanding. But this is not, you're aiding and abetting a crime. I'm sorry if that sounds hard-hearted, but we have laws in this country. And Media Matters and Right Wing Watch, it's AARON. That's the masculine way of spelling Aaron. Am I being way out of bounds?
Should I allow my brother's illegal alien girlfriend or sister's illegal alien boyfriend? Is that this decade's version of, hey, should I go to my cousin's gay wedding? Is this one for this decade, maybe?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's been the last 3 or 4 decades, probably conundrum on some level. But I just no. Your family's just wrong, and you don't have to be a jerk about it. And it sounds like you haven't been. You've been more than accommodating. but your family is just, they are sinning against you. I can't put it in any different. I can't put it in any different terms than that. They are sinning against you. They're all
lawbreakers. They're all breaking the law.
They are abusing you spiritually and practically as well.
It's
relationally.
Emotional and spiritual
Yes.
blackmail and abuse is what it is. Yes. And hey, listen, as Christians, there are times we harbor fugitives against the law because the law is morally wrong. Is this law morally wrong, gentlemen? Anybody want to say this law is morally wrong?
And if this was if you lived somewhere on the plains of South Texas or whatever they have down there, and I say this, if some illegal came into your backyard and came across your homestead and was just on the cusp of death or was severely dehydrated and they needed a drink of water, that's not a time to call ICE. That's a time to welcome them in and give them a drink of water and help them heal out and get them the help that they need. But they cannot, but after that, once they are well again, they have to face the consequences of breaking our country's laws.
I mean, he's been here 5 years. Where's he working? Where'd he get that job? How'd he get that job? Is that a job that would have gone to an actual lawful, law-abiding citizen? Where's the driver's license? Does he drive? Does he have a car? Where'd he get that at? See what I'm saying? I mean, the tentacles of this guy's a criminal enterprise. That's what he is. And hey, it's entirely possible he just was escaping, Latin American squalor to come here. It's also entirely possible there's a lot more to the story at the exact same time. One way that we don't have to navigate such things is we secure our borders and don't let, our country get invaded. So we don't have these very dilemmas. Unfortunately, we did not do that. But you are being asked, number one, to harbor a fugitive to help break the law. You are being emotionally and spiritually blackmailed and abused at the exact same time. And that's a perspective that needs to be heard. Todd, I'll let you go next.
Well, you asked at the end about can this be reconciled? Yes, but only through the way that you did it. It had to get worse before it got better. And don't let reconciliation just be going back to the status quo, because the status quo was ingrates who just take advantage of each other.
Yep.
So yeah, it had somebody had to just do it, get it done, and hopefully with some tough love, some lessons are learned. In this equation, see, one of the problems though is the only man that I've heard talked about at any length is the actual illegal immigrant. Here, listen, I have 4 daughters. And now we have a grown woman, I don't know how old your sister is, but who never taught.
In her 30s. She said she was in her 30s.
But unfortunately, and maybe she was taught. Maybe she was, and she's just an ingrate. But my experience is more often than not, dads never told their daughters what they needed to hear. Is that you belong to God. I am a steward of that relationship on this earth. And I ultimately have to give you over to a different man who will take my job. And so all of these fancy notions of it's my life, I get to date who I want to, let the kids make their own choices and own mistakes. That's going to happen in a lot of walks of life. In this one, you never approve of somebody. It doesn't mean that they're exactly like you, and then they will likely do it in their own way. But both your daughters and the men who come over, and very quickly, let them take them to the movies a couple times or whatever they do. But then if they want, I'd like to date your daughter. Okay, well, your definition of dating is my definition of dating, not your definition of dating. And if you can hold up to that, we'll get along just fine. And if you decide to break up with her because it's your life, you go do that too. But I'm not just giving my daughter over to anybody else. And because so many daughters and so many sons have not been taught that by their family, you get this, where you bring home the illegal immigrant and you think you're the one who's aggrieved. This is nonsense. This is gibberish.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, and we have cited this quite a bit the last few months on this show, and in the era that we are embarking upon, we're to cite it quite a few more. Do not think I came to bring peace but a sword. Even members of a man's own household will be divided against him. I mean, this is where we are. Okay? And it sucks. It does. But we're all going to have to learn how to peace out more often. And this is frankly also where our churches have to step in and provide that family and community substitute when our loved ones decide to become proxies for the spirit of the age, rather than what's lawful and what's holy and what's righteous. So I'm sorry that came home to you, but the choice before you is to enable the breaking of the law. I mean, you're being asked to help break the law, to abandon the values you voted for, and while being emotionally and spiritually blackmailed if you don't. Explain to me why you think they're in the right in any way, shape, or form, given what they're asking and the tactics being utilized. The tactics are very satanic, actually. Accusatory, divisive, very did God really say? Scott Jones writes, I found your recent take on the Gaza deal interesting. I wish you were correct and this were a generational peace deal. But I worked for an Israeli company for 15 years and had a lot of friends in Israel who would love to see a lasting peace. Unfortunately, I think that the recent deal will not achieve that. Hamas is evil to its core. Before I started writing this, they were already signaling that they intend to break the deal immediately. It's only a matter of time before they launch another murderous attack. They will use the temporary peace to rearm. Secondly, I am not as encouraged by the Qatari-Saudi motivations. I think they know they are having great success infiltrating our nation town by town or city by city. One of their agents is about to be elected mayor of New York. Here in Texas, our GOP officials turn a blind eye to the conquest going on in the Dallas suburbs and everywhere. This invasion is being funded by the Qataris and Saudis as well as Iran. They don't want to get us so worked up that we might indeed take note of the enemies in our midst. I think that is their motive. They learn that if they try to conquer Europe by force, the Habsburgs rise up and kick their tails. So they infiltrated by migration and mass birth. Look at Europe now. They are doing the same thing here. They don't want to fight. That's why they supported Trump. Standing firmly on the word, Scott Jones. I'm not here to argue with any of your points, but you better hope you're wrong. Because if you're not wrong, I hope you're learning to shoot very accurately. If you're not wrong, I hope that you're doing that. All right. Do not write a note like this and then say, all right, hand me the remote, game on. I mean, if you really believe this, make sure, you DVR the game and you're at the range. Because if you're right, and you might be, there's periods of history that have proven this has happened before, you're going to need to be a real good shot. Secondly, you better hope you're wrong, because if you're not, that's where this is ultimately going to go. Which is exactly why I'm willing to see this through, because I know what the alternative is. Please do not, I'm not being naive here. I'm not hopeful of this outcome because I'm naive, but because I'm not. I'm hopeful of this outcome because I know what will happen if this is not what occurs next. I know what will happen. It'll be the stuff that you're forecasting here, with no in between. You guys have any thoughts on that really quick?
I think your initial response in terms of not here to argue with that level of cynicism has been earned.
You bet.
But Steve's right. You've got to give it a chance. And then Trump and whoever comes after him has, like Trump, no, under no circumstances can you go into the West Bank right now. This comes true. Trump, take the West Bank.
Yep.
It's just going to be like, and as ugly as that is, it's a lot more honest than what we've been doing for a very long time. When evil things happened, this response that we have, well, yes, it's evil, but we can't confront evil because then we'd have evil. That's actually what a lot of people have been saying for a very long time. That's obviously on its face insane. You have no choice. If you don't want the evil, you have to do something about it. Something was done more than certainly any time in Stephen Mai's adult lifetime. Now we got to give it a chance to cook. And none of us should have any utopian pretensions. And on this or any other issue, one thing I will say Steve Deace never has is utopian pretensions. So, there.
I might be mistaken, and I'm sure there's going to be a segment of the audience is going to be, Aaron, you were way out over your skis, and there's going to be another segment that says, yeah, that's actually kind of makes sense. But I know that there is a school of thought, maybe this is mainstream, I don't know, that the reason why we have the Islamic invasion of Europe, the pretext of that Islamic invasion is a chain reaction of events in the region of the country, or in the region of the world, that was largely kicked off by American attempts at nation building in Iraq and Afghanistan, or Afghanistan and Iraq, respectively, aided and abetted by the Arab Spring. And that set off so many of the rise of ISIS and ISIL, whatever you want to call it, the Syrian civil war. Those were all pretexts to why we had so many, or why Europe had so many refugees from that part of the world. Whether how accurate that is in terms of a reading of the last 20, 30 years of history, I don't know. Maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe there's a lot of truth to it. But essentially, American foreign policy is, when it comes to that region of the world, is y'all know how to do life here better than we do here in the West, so don't cross us and we'll be fine, but you do your own thing over here. That's my kind of read of the situation. So if that is actually accurate in terms of how they view it and how we view it now, we're better off, for now, giving this new direction a chance instead of the immediate cynicism. However, immediate suspicion of Islamism, Islamic countries, I think that's always warranted. Not just warranted, but probably prudent.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, hey, listen, Scott, all the fundamentals that you mentioned there are all true. All the concerns are valid. Go hard. Have a great weekend. Romans 8:28.